Alright guys, so today I'm going to be looking at the camera on the iPhone 12. I'm going to look at the HDR and let you know what I think. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, Neil from Neil Collins Recording. Welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back to my channel if you're not. Either way, appreciate you watching this video. So today I'm going to go and do a bit of a venue shoot. So I'm going to take my iPhone 12 with me and I'm going to have a look at the camera capabilities and have a look at the HDR and see what that's all about. Yeah, and I'll let you know my thoughts in this video. And we'll take the footage back, have a look at the footage and just see what conclusions we can get from that. I'm going to test out the photos and video today, so an overall view of the camera. So I just want to see what the images are like for myself, and today's a good day to do it. Nice little hotel I'm going to, so I get some nice shots of the hotel. And then later on, we'll take it out at night, and I'll get some night footage, so we can test it in low light as well. So I've already done an unboxing of the iPhone 12 you can find here, and in that video I did mention the new iPhone 12 lets in 27% more light, so it should be pretty good in low light. I've heard lots of good things about the HDR and the night shooting mode, so yeah, we'll test all that out and see what the camera's all about. Alright guys, so here we are. I'm going to get a few shots of the rooms at the hotel for their promo, and whilst I'm doing that, I'll get the iPhone 12 out and take some shots at the same time, just so we can see what the pictures and video looks like. Yeah, and then we'll take it out again later in the dark and do the same thing. Then we'll have a look at all the footage back home. So I might compare the footage side by side with the GH5. Haven't decided yet if that's really going to be of much use to anyone. The video I shoot on the GH5 is usually quite desaturated, and the iPhone 12 is quite a saturated image, so I'm not sure if a side-by-side comparison is going to be very useful, but I'll have a look, and if it is, then that's what I'll do. So the next images you'll see is some shots in the rooms at the hotel, the outside of the hotel, that sort of thing, and you can see what the images look like. So that's it from here. Taken quite a few pictures, you've probably seen them now. We'll have a chat about them when I get home. Next time you see me, it's going to be dark. Alright guys, so it's night time now. Come down here on my one wheel. Said one wheel. And I've got my iPhone 12 set up, ready to take some night shots. So I'm going to take some night shots, then we'll go back home, have a look at all the shots we've taken down the video and see what conclusions we come up with. So I'll catch you in a bit. So you've seen the images now. Let me know what you think in the comments below, what you think of the images. I was really impressed with the iPhone 12 today. I found some of the images like really top notch. Definitely surprised me a little bit, to be honest. I think a lot of it's down to the HDR, so I think it's important we understand a little bit about HDR so we know what the iPhone is now doing to the images. So basically, Dolby Vision is just a type of HDR. There are loads of different formats and Dolby Vision is just one of them, which Apple has adopted for the iPhone 12. And what HDR means is you've got a higher dynamic range. So you've got more detail in the brightest parts of the image and the darkest parts of the image. In effect, it means you can push the shadows a little bit more, bring the shadows up without overexposing the highlights. So if you haven't got that dynamic range, so in a standard photo, as soon as you bring the shadows up, you'll also be increasing the highlights and they'll all get blown out and you'll lose all the detail in the highlights. But if you've got the dynamic range to play with, which you do with HDR images, then you can bring those shadows up, bring some of the details out in the shadows and the highlights without losing the details in the highlights, which is really exciting to see in the iPhone 12. I was really impressed with it today, but this I think is the best example of what HDR can really do to an image. Now I'm just going to take you back to one of the images we shot today, and I think this really shows how HDR comes into its own. So I'll just show you the image now. Okay, so it's this image here. So if I just bring your attention to the window in this image, then you can clearly see with the HDR image, you've got all the detail of the grass and the trees outside of the window. In the standard photo, it's all been blown out because it wasn't a massively well lit room. The standard photos adjusted this by bringing up some of the shadows, but in doing that, it's blown out the outside of the window. Whereas with the HDR image, it's maintained all the detail and the highlights, whilst at the same time being able to bring out the details and the shadows. So that's the difference. I mean, if you look at these images, it's chalk and cheese. This photo is a really good example of that in action. Okay. Another good example is this outside shot. Just look at the sky in these two images. Now, in the standard photo, the sky detail is pretty much gone. It's all blown out. But with the HDR photo, you've still got all the detail of the clouds and everything. You've still got the nice blue colour in the sky, whereas the sky in the standard photo is pretty much gone. It's just a grey mess. And if you just look at the colours in general, the colours in the HDR photo are much more natural. Greens are much nicer. It's just an overall a nicer image. With regards to the night photos, now again, the HDR image with the wide angle lens was much nicer than the standard photo image, in my opinion. The colours are much nicer, the details are much sharper. It's just overall a nicer image. The standard photo is a little bit blue. What I did find though, so not only has the iPhone 12 got HDR, it also has a night mode that it uses for low light photos. So it uses some really smart technology to get you a decent night image. However, I've found that if you turn the night mode off and turned off the HDR, the image you got was actually, in my opinion, probably better than the HDR image. Image where there's no night mode on, no HDR, I thought was a better image than the HDR image, but the HDR image was a better image than the standard photo image. That's what I found. What I also found is the ultra wide camera in the dark just seem to fall apart. Now I don't know if it's something to do with the way it's been processed and then brought into my software to edit. Could be that. It's introduced loads of artifacts in the sky. You can see them in both the HDR image and the standard image. So in all the images on the ultra wide camera, there seems to be a lot of artifacts in the sky. Now it might just be an export compression anomaly. I'll have to do a bit more research on that and I'll have to let you know, so I'll keep you posted on that one. But yeah, not impressed with the ultra wide camera at night at the moment. We'll see if it's just an export import thing. I'll do a few other tests and I'll let you know. With regards to the video, the wide camera HDR again was a better image for me. Nicer colours in general than the standard video. More details in the darker areas. So the HDR does what it's supposed to do on video as well as pictures. In the daytime, some of the wide angled video I was getting was on par with the GH5 that I was using. The images were a bit more saturated than the GH5. That's just because I've changed the shooting settings in the GH5 so it shoots less saturated from the camera. But yeah, I was really impressed with the video in general. The only thing that's annoying for me is I live in the UK, and when you shoot at 60 frames per second when there's lights on, you're going to get a flicker. You're going to need to change your frame rate from 60 frames a second to 50 or something like that. The fact that you can't do it on the iPhone, it's a bit annoying. It means you can't really do nighttime slow-mo without getting the flicker. Let me know below if you know different, but as far as I know, there's no way of really getting rid of that because you can't change the frame rates on the iPhone 12 itself. Now you could shoot in 30 frames per second, but you wouldn't be able to slow it down. So the image itself is pretty good. I was quite impressed with the nighttime image, but you've got the flickering lights, which is a bit annoying. So I didn't even really bother with the super slow-mo, the 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second in 1080p, because they would have been even worse. It'd be nice to have the option to change frame rates. Hopefully Apple will bring this in at some point so that you can change the frame rates on the iPhone cameras. In the US, you probably haven't got the same problem because your lights are a different frequency, so 60 frames per second will probably be fine. But in the UK, it's a bit annoying. Now, the other issue we face with HDR video is even though we've shot this amazing HDR video on the iPhone, not only is there hardly any software where you can edit HDR video, you can't do it in Final Cut, I don't think you can do it in Premiere Pro, you can do it in iMovie, and I think there's another one, I think DaVinci you might be able to do it. But a lot of the editing software you can't edit and then export in HDR video. You can't import in HDR video, or it's quite a difficult thing to do. On top of that, if you're not watching it on a device where you can watch HDR video, then you're not going to get the full effect anyway. So all these things are catching up with the HDR technology at the moment. You'll still get a better image, but you're not going to get the full effect until all of these things are in place. So until you can edit, export and import in HDR and watch in HDR, you aren't going to get the full effect of HDR video. But I'm sure it'll all catch up soon enough, but at the moment we are a little bit limited. That's it for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. I was really impressed with all the images and the video that came out of the iPhone 12 today. Obviously a bit of an issue with the ultra wide camera, but we'll have a look into that, see if it's an issue in general. Let me know below if you've had the same issue. In general, love the HDR function on the iPhone 12. Love the way it catches all the details in the highlights, in the windows, in the shadows. It's just a really nice addition to the iPhone 12. You can now get some genuine quality photos and video just using an iPhone. We're definitely getting to the stage where you can shoot decent video and photography on an iPhone, which is really exciting. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you've experienced any issues with the iPhone 12 cameras. It'd be good to get your perspective on it. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so I can let you know when new content is released. Releasing content on a Monday and Thursday at the moment, gear tech tutorials, reviews, all that sort of thing. Got some nice little playlists set up for you so it's easier to navigate through the site. That's it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one.